Hi, everyone. We've
Show
made it. What?
12. You have made it all the way around the world and almost back again here for the
Almost.
final 2 hours of this year's 24 Hours of Chaos. If you've been here since the beginning, post your name or whatever in YouTube or Twitch, wherever you're watching this, and we'll give you a shout out because I hope you've stayed with us for the whole thing. And now, of course, the best part, show 12.
Yeah. Tell us how long you've been awake for. I know Tom could only take a very brief nap. So did I, but it was important to take some sleep. But we also love watching all the other guys. So, you know, thank you for staying with us. Thank you for staying awake. We really hope you're enjoying it. We're doing this for the community. You've seen the games, and we hope we have some really, really interesting guests to
We
show
do.
here as well.
We do. We have the best guests. Yeah, so all the Agents of Chaos, even if you're just joining us for the first time and you haven't been through all the 11 shows, you're catching the best one because show 12. I mean, yeah, the other ones were great, but we've got what's happening on this show.
All righty. Should we like briefly introduce each other, Tom? I think
We should really say who we are. That would be a good idea. You first.
all the honors are are mine. Thank you. Hi everyone. My name is Albena. I'm part of Chaos for about 5 years. I've been part of pretty much every sales team, but I'm mostly concentrated on media and entertainment right now. It's my second time hosting Show 12. So although I might seem like a veteran, I can tell you I'm nervous as hell. So I'm really glad I have Tom by my side to give me courage. And if you guys enjoyed the show so far, please give us a like over there. And yeah, I hope you're gonna enjoy Show 12.
And I'm Tom. I'm the product marketing manager for Corona. Been on the Corona team since 2016. So if you're a Corona user, you probably know my name. I focus basically on making sure we get good tutorial videos, writing all the new release blogs that tell you what's new in Corona, keeping our community up to date on everything that's going on. And we have three guests. Unfortunately, Margarita can't make it, and Julian will be joining us later. So the fact there's only one guest here just now doesn't mean we don't have the content for you. Like to introduce? Would you like to introduce yourself, Milko?
Hi, I would like to. Yes. Hi, guys. My name is Milko. I'm a graphic designer turned 3D artist, I guess. And let's see what I have to say later on in the show. Hope everybody enjoys and have a good time.
Alrighty. We love having you here, Milko, and I know that what you're
Thank
gonna
you.
share is super exciting. I think it's a story that a lot of the people out there can actually learn a lot from, and it's super inspiring. At least to me, it was. Um, yeah, we do have some games, so watch carefully. I hope you have watched the past shows as well. Unfortunately, Tom and I cannot participate, but you guys can. Uh, we're gonna give you more details on the quiz later on. But yeah, there will be some big rewards for the guys who have stayed for 12 shows, or at least know what we've talked about so far. We also have some very interesting people from our own team joining in later. So I'm sure you're gonna be curious to find out how things are done behind the scene, under the hood, and all that. And please don't be shy. Send as many questions as you can think of in the chat. We'll make sure we try to answer all of them in advance or while you're watching and enjoying the show. Right, Tom?
Yes, this is a great thing about Show 12, of course, is Sophia falls into our area. So we have guests from Chaos on here. Your chance to interrogate them. I mean, hear from them and ask them nice questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
do play along to the end of the show because we do have the big quiz. We don't get to take part. We wanted the swag. But it's going to have to go to one of you instead. So good luck. But stick around to the end of the show for that. Pay attention to the presentations because we will be asking you certain pieces of information from each of every show.
Yeah, and I would also like to take the chance and like thank everyone who has hosted or participated the previous shows. We love you guys. Everything that's happening is thanks to you. Hope we're not gonna bring shame as the last show. Just the opposite. We're the party at the end, you know. And a big shout out to everyone who is staying behind the scenes and you cannot see them, but they have done so much. They have stayed awake for and trust me, it's not just 24 hours for them. It's been a lot of work put into this, making this work. We're going around the globe, so you can imagine all the logistics around this show. So huge kudos to everyone back there in the office or around the world who are supporting this event.
Yeah, they have the hard part. We have the easy part.
Should we kick it off?
Yes, we'll dive in with Margarita. Margarita unfortunately couldn't be with us due to some last-minute circumstances, but we do have her excellent presentation. Margarita Nikita, you may know her, co-founder of HiQ Renderers, and she's published lots of books. She's been guests on various of our shows and tutorials before. And this one is an excellent little video called A Rocky Start Makes Great Climbers, which I think is a fantastic title. The video is awesome too. And I'll say to the team, when you're ready to play it, roll VT. I was supposed to say that.
I got my bachelor's degree in September of 2008. Do you remember that date? The stock market had just crashed, marking the beginning of a global financial crisis. Imagine how hard it was for a new architect like me, one who lacked confidence and experience, to work at that time. In 2009, I was running an unprofitable business and my parents were paying the bills. And today, 13 years later, I have an award-winning company with 20 employees and a clientele that includes a royal family, Hollywood celebrities, and some of the biggest hotel brands. It took me approximately 8 or 9 years of wondering whether I should quit before I could call my business successful. So today, I'm going to share with you my story and some of the lessons I've learned along the way, hoping that you will find them useful, especially if you're new in your profession or if you're at this point in your career where you feel like quitting. My company works on some of the most beautiful homes in Miami and New York, and I'm also in the process of designing a really beautiful home for my family. But not too long ago, I was renting an apartment / office that was in a building hundreds of years old and in a really bad condition. I had just graduated, so I couldn't afford anything better. I still remember it was summer of 2009 and I had a client meeting there to discuss on a coffee shop. While I was presenting my ideas, my client started screaming. I mean, okay, maybe she didn't like my design, but start screaming? Who does that? It took me a few minutes to realize that she had spotted a cockroach on the wall behind me and she ran out of the office. Don't get me wrong, but appearances do matter, especially if you are in the creative field. I still remember how embarrassed I felt that day. We all have bruises, and to some extent, those shape who we become and what we do in life. For me, that day was a waking moment. Why was I trying to do architecture in an economy that was collapsing? I needed to find an alternative. While I was studying architecture, I was doing some research on YouTube and I bumped into a video of ArchiCAD. ArchiCAD is a 3D modeling software. I got fascinated by how fast and easily a 2D drawing can take shape. I started searching for books that I could buy in order to learn the software, but there was none in the market. After watching many tutorials online, I finally managed to learn it. And then it hit me, since I found it so hard to learn the software due to lack of means, why don't I create those means? And I started writing a book. Before finishing my bachelor, I submitted my first book proposal to all publishing houses in my country, Greece. And they all rejected me. I mean, I was so young, as I said, I hadn't even graduated, so it was difficult for someone to trust me, especially in writing a book, since this is something that requires experience and expertise. One publisher replied to me that I was unfortunate because they had just published a book on that same topic. I ran to the bookstore and read it cover to cover. I got so mad at myself because I kept finding excuses to postpone contacting the publishers due to insecurity. And now someone else had gotten there first. So here's my advice. When you believe that you have a good idea, go for it with all your strength. Do not let insecurity or any other excuses keep you away from realizing your dreams. After 1 week of constant whining to my boyfriend, and by the way now husband, that my book should be the one published, he couldn't stand me anymore. And he told me, why do you keep saying all these things to me? I can't do anything to change it. If you believe that your book should be published, you should persuade them. And that was it. I mean, often we get blinded by the disappointment of rejection, that the solution is right in front of our eyes. We see it, but we don't even realize it. And that's exactly what I did. I wrote a really long email pointing out why my book was better and why they should publish it. It took them 1 day to get back to me with a contract to sign. So, when someone rejects you, it doesn't mean that your idea is not good or that you are not capable. You need to strongly believe in yourself for others to believe in you. My book did quite well in sales, so the next year I wrote another one, and 2 years later another one. I was feeling unstoppable, and so I wondered, why stay local and not try to expand internationally? I contacted publishers in the US. I don't recall how many emails I sent, but I do remember that they all rejected me. And there it was. I was living a déjà vu. The moment I thought that I was finally past the phase of rejection, there it was again. I tried again the next year and again the next, but the result was always the same. At some point, I convinced myself that it was time to let go and to focus on other things. My main focus now shifted to 3D rendering jobs, and as the years went by, I was slowly but steadily expanding my business. As of last year, my company counted 19 employees, we had some celebrity clients and some big projects in our portfolio. But at the back of my mind, I was still longing the idea of publishing a book internationally. So, armed with a stronger portfolio this time, I contacted again the same publishers. Only this time, I finally got my contract, and this time, it was with little effort. As I said, a book requires expertise, which I now had. So, what's the learning lesson here? Sometimes, even though you may have a good idea, the timing may not be right, but you need to have an absolute determination and drive in who you want to be and what you want to achieve, and to hold on to that in spite of disappointments and rejections. It may take 10 years to make it happen, like in my case, but who cares? If at a certain point something seems impossible, take a few steps back, focus on other things that will help you grow in that direction, and eventually you will make it happen. Sometimes, the more time it takes, the prouder you feel when you finally succeed. Let's be honest, there is no secret recipe to success. One thing that I can guarantee is that becoming successful won't happen overnight. There will be periods in your career with more questions than answers, and during those periods you need to have an unshakable confidence in your ability to overcome obstacles and succeed. If you recall, in the first part of this video I told you that although I had studied architecture, the time was off to work as an architect, and I was determined to find an alternative. I also told you that at the same period I was writing books which were doing pretty well. That's because when there is recession, what most people do is to try and learn new things that will help them find a job. So I thought, why limit myself to just publishing books and not open a learning center? At that time, my books were used as university textbooks, and that brought me many university students. For 3 years, it proved to be a huge success. I managed to move from that crappy old apartment to a brand new one. Did I tell you that I was feeling unstoppable? Well, I did, but guess what? Things changed again. The economic crisis was there to stay, and Greece was one step away from declaring a bankruptcy. So the last thing people in our profession would think was to spend money in learning a 3D software. So there I was again, trying to find an alternative. This time the solution couldn't be local. I shifted my interest in 3D renderings since this is something that doesn't require physical presence. You can be in Greece, in Italy or in India and have clients all over the world. So how do you find your first international client? Back then, 3D renderings were considered a luxury. Not many would pay for them, so I needed to identify the right audience for this type of service. I focused on clients based in countries with strong economies. What I did was to go and buy the most popular magazines on interior design in the US, in Switzerland and in London, thinking that anyone who can pay to advertise in these magazines can also pay for a 3D rendering. So I made a list of all the architects and interior designers I could find in these magazines and I contacted them. That's how I found my first celebrity clients. And now, one piece of advice that no one likes to hear. When you have your first clients, it's time to start making discounts. Before you get upset, believe me, I also don't like discounts. I mean, who likes to work for the same hours and make half the money for no reason? Although in this case, there is a reason. My discounts would be like, refer us to a friend and you will get a 30% off your next project. Offer ends in 10 days. Or send us a second project before you finish your first one and you will get a 20% discount. So make sure that from every offer you are making, you have more to gain. And believe me, I know that if a client is happy, she will refer you to a friend or give you a second project, even if you don't make the discounts. But what we try to do here is to create this type of urgency that will help you speed up the process. Everyone thinks, oh, it's ending now, so I need to take advantage of it right now. And that's how you grow your clientele and your portfolio. No one can predict the future, so if you're asking me what the future holds, I can't give you an honest answer. What my experience has taught me, and I know it's a cliché, is that nothing lasts forever, so I always try to prepare my next step for when this moment comes. Once again, I'm finding myself shifting my interest to the educational field. Lately, I was debating whether I should open again a learning center now that the economy is back up. But that would be like trying to repeat a success recipe from the past. Things have changed. The internet and the globalization have made it easy not to restrain yourself to your country's boundaries. So after some research, I decided to create a course in Udemy. In a rather short period of time, I have more than 3,000 students, so I plan to make many more of these. The nice thing with the online educational system is that it doesn't require you to be physically present. More importantly, you create the content only once at the beginning, and after that, it's passive income. Additionally, I created a channel in YouTube. It's a rather small channel for now, but when, for instance, V6 Beta was released, my video got 20,000 views in just one day. This shows me how invested people are in new releases, in upgrades, and in what's next to come in this industry. Before I end, if I could give you one last piece of advice, I would use the title I have chosen for my speech today. A rocky start makes great climbers. So, if you have recently graduated from college, this ongoing COVID-19 pandemic is not the ideal start for you either, and I can relate to how you must be feeling. But you should keep in mind that it's the difficulties that push you to reach your limits, make you think outside the box, and shape you to who you want to become. Thank you all.
I think that was awesome. I really do love the title, and I love the reminder that we see people when they're successful, and we kind of assume that we're always like that. But you know, they've had to fight, they've had their own battles. Nobody starts out having it easy. You're gonna go through that rocky start, but hey, that's okay because it's just gonna make you into a great climber.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I was thinking exactly the same. So my question was actually to the two of you. I think we've all had rocky starts, haven't we?
Yes.
That's the only way to learn. Anyway, alrighty. We're really sorry that we could not have Margarita with us today, but who knows? Post your questions. She might telepathically, give some answers to them. You never know. It's an era of technology. And now we get to that smiley face over there on my screen. And in order not
me.
to ruin the presentation, Milko, please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, what you're doing, and
All right. I already introduced myself once, but a second time can't hurt, I guess.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm Milko. I'm from Bulgaria originally. Right now I live in Vienna. I work for Oblik Creative Studio, that's in Bulgaria, and I am the studio's 3D guy. I do the 3D things there, and I'm having a lot of fun. Hopefully, everybody's also satisfied with the renders I'm pushing out. So, yeah, I'm gonna be talking about my transition from graphic design into motion design and then into 3D in my presentation. This is just a little preview, so yeah, you'll have to watch it. I'm going to be there for the Q&A afterwards, so you can ask me all of your questions. I think my colleagues are also going to hop on and ask me some ridiculous things to embarrass me. So yeah,
Of course they are. They should.
it'll be fun. Yeah, that's what colleagues should do, right? Embarrass
I
you.
love the 3D guy description. So let's see
Of course.
the 3D guy.
All right.
Hello everybody, my name is Milko and I'm a 3D and motion designer at Oblik Creative Studio. Today I'm going to be talking about my journey into the world of 3D, how it started, how it is currently going, the challenges, the learning experience, and some of the more interesting projects that came along the way that made me want to learn and create more. Also, towards the end, I'm going to be sharing some thoughts and prognosis for the future, so stay tuned for that. And hopefully what I'm about to say will be interesting for novices or people that are just on the verge of starting their own walk into 3D, as well as return some of the magic and appreciation to the veterans of the field. So anyways, forward and introductions aside, let's get into it. I started out some years ago as a graphic designer working at ad agencies, doing the brochures, the billboards, the posters and logos, and every kind of print material there is, I guess. However, I had always found animation to be an incredibly interesting medium. Even as a child, I remember messing around with these sprite sheet animations, doing these long fight scenes in a program called Pivot Stick Figure Animator, which surely some of you have great memories of, just like I do. And I even wanted to study animation at university, but ultimately I decided to go for graphic design. So in trying to get back to animation, I went from designing for print to designing for digital, where it was much more about the GIFs, the video, and the moving elements that got your attention. That's where I could finally come back to that primary interest to animation. So I started learning more about it, taught myself motion design and After Effects, began video editing, and with that came a new freedom and a new way to express myself. If a picture says 1,000 words, imagine how many words there are in an animation or a video with its 24 frames per second, right? So my love for art that moves transferred over to 3D as well, so whatever I'm making, my brain is always thinking of a way to animate it and give it even just a bit more life. I often feel self-conscious or even guilty when posting static renders. It feels like I'm cheating on my first love, animation. So most of the time a project will be finished, but I just spend double the time tinkering around with it just to animate it so I can post it with a clear conscience, I guess. So when I came to Oblik as a motion designer, I was eager to impress my new colleagues and show them that I'm a good fit for this team of great designers. They already knew I could hold my own with motion design, so I decided to offer something extra. I was like, hey guys, I've been doing some 3D work, want to see some 3D magic? And they were excited to see what I could do, and I gave it a go. So here's the first thing I did. Yeah, the result isn't amazing, but it served the purpose. It allowed for a little bit more motion and freedom in the illustrative visuals that we had at the time. It also served another purpose though, because after that, it spurred an interest and willingness to let me try 3D for more visuals. So further down the line, with a lot more work and a lot more learning, I could start offering better and more interesting renders. With time, I got to work on different projects, experiment, create new and fun stuff. I've created a variety of different assets, gotten to use sculpting for some projects, and I had to learn how to create and animate this, which was a challenge for me, but damn, it was fun. Helping develop one of our biggest clients' 3D styles is something that I'm thankful for I had the opportunity to do and be a part of. Looking back, I wouldn't think my job responsibilities would be primarily involved in 3D work, but I'm really happy they are. But we're not doing only client work. We have time for some other projects too. For example, the whole studio took part in the 36 Days of Type challenge, and it was so much fun to work on some of these letters as the studio's newly appointed 3D guy. I didn't have time to animate them all, but it was such a great experience just to try and incorporate my love for 3D in such a project. You can check them all out on the studio's Instagram though. I think the colleagues really knocked it out of the park. About a month or two after I had joined the studio, one of my colleagues did this really cool illustration of a Japanese macaque, and I thought we could do something interesting together. So I modeled it, she hand painted the textures for it, and at one point I figured I had never modeled a hand before, so I had to face that challenge as well. And with my rigging skills at the time, we managed to make it work somehow. Add some stylized water, some splashes, hand paint a few rocks for atmosphere, slap a billboard she drew as a background, and there we have it. This chilled out Japanese macaque scratching his face while soaking in a hot spring somewhere in Jigokudani Monkey Park. I love stylized art, and it was really exciting to explore such a visual style and to collaborate on a project as a 3D artist. I know some of the people that talked before me and will talk after are working on projects that would blow your mind away, but I'm sure they also had projects like this one, simple but significant in that it made them want to do more and more, to learn, to improve, to create worlds, characters, to tell stories, and piece by piece, project after project, they got to where they're at now. I think every piece you complete can embolden you to try new techniques. It makes you eager to create and explore more, and so I decided to dip my proverbial toes in simulations, really cautiously. At the time, I created this commemorative piece about the Australian forest fires that were devastating the nature and wildlife. And although the topic is really serious, I didn't want to make anything too vicious and brutal looking, so I decided to put together this final toy aesthetic diorama with a koala fighting the fires to protect his home and its inhabitants. It posed some new challenges for me, as fire and smoke sims are super interesting and super fun to make, but we all know how much time they take. So, nevertheless, I still managed to find my way into making a fire sim that I could use for the background. Also, I didn't actually know the koalas had 2 thumbs on their hands, so modeling that was pretty interesting. Going further with simulations, I got really hooked on rigid body sims, and I was itching to find a way to combine them with my love for creating characters. So after learning a bit of rigging, I tried to combine it with some rigid body dynamics, and these 2 guys came to life. I think they're 2 of my favorite pieces I've done so far. Shape Man running is probably how we were all feeling during the lockdowns. I mean, falling apart, pulling ourselves back together again. And about the purple guy, what can I say? First of all, his name is Frank, and second of all, he's way more than he lets on. His inner workings are actually stringing rigid body spheres together, simulating them, constraining bones to them, and then making these bones influence the actual character mesh. So it was a bit daunting to create, but I really wanted to make something that would cheer anybody up, and I think it was worth the trouble. I mean, it's so satisfying when you get the rig and the sim to work together, and his goofy face slamming into the floor still gets a chuckle out of me every time. It was really cool to incorporate a simulation in such an involved way into one of my creations. I mean, more than draping a rectangular cloth over a, sphere and saying, "Wow, the fabric is now in the computer." Every one of these little wins and accomplishments and things I learned made me want to do more and learn more. So in my quest to learn more about rigging and use it in some practical project, I made a series of hand animations. Just some fun little situations that don't require a full body rig. And then I actually made the full body rig around it. I made these characters. I wanted to practice making a whole package of characters with different hairstyles, clothes, accessories, some extra options to the rig like a system to control the eyes and eyebrows. And of course, I wanted to animate them. And to complete their little world, I did a few props as well. After trying my hand at rigging, I really wanted to take another 2D project and turn it into 3D, and also have it be more complicated to test my newly acquired rigging skills. So I took this art of a D&D character frog my friend did, and started working on it, sculpting and remeshing, and I'm not gonna lie, I used an auto mesher, admittedly being a bit too eager to get to texturing and of course, animation. So anyways, I built out this rig, more complex than the ones I'd done before, did some custom shapes for the bones, and like David in front of Goliath, I stood before this rig, containing so many bones, I didn't know where to start from. Anyways, animating a fully realistic character was new to me, and I didn't have a Rococo motion capture suit, so I made do with what I had. Set up a camera in my apartment, started jumping from a couch and doing these weird kung fu pan movements, and then I tried to match them within the 3D software. I felt a bit absurd, my wife was there, she was wondering what the heck is going on. She got a good laugh out of it, I got my animation done, so I guess it's a win-win. So by working on a variety of different projects, I picked up a few different skills, so I decided I wanted to do something fun and educational with the colleagues in my department. So I started this internal initiative I called the 3D Kindergarten, and this was a work in progress title, but I guess they liked it and it stuck, so that's what we're calling it now. And each week I give them a render challenge they must complete. Then we discuss renders, go into the work files, dissect them, discussing best practices and how to do things in a more efficient way, or just in a different way in general. It's one of those things that I really look forward to in my work week, and it's such a cool thing to discuss art and work with like-minded individuals. As I said in the beginning, I want to share some thoughts and visions for the future with you guys, so here comes that part. And before you stop watching or tune me out completely or click the little X here or here, I'm not sure, don't worry. I'm not going to be talking about NFTs, I promise you. I'm going to take you back to the 3D Kindergarten I just talked about. I wanted to give myself a bit of an extra challenge with that one, so for every render task I give my colleagues, I try to concept my piece in VR beforehand, whenever it fits the project, of course. So I got my headset pretty recently, and I've been looking for opportunities to include it in my work, and to be honest, it's gotten me really excited for the future. It's just such a great way for 3D artists to create and immerse themselves in the piece they create. Getting to quote-unquote thumbnail my ideas in 3D and quickly make iterations is just so great and so freeing. Feels so tangible too. It's kind of the pencil and paper of 3D, but instead of doing it with a pencil and paper, you get to do it in a fully 3D environment. It's a new way not only for 3D artists to work on their creations, but also a more immersive experience for the viewer. Being in there with the piece you're creating, stepping around it, looking at it from different angles, it's just such a new experience. And for this last render task, I quickly went in and sketched out my vision for the scene that I wanted to create. I mean, it's quick and dirty, but it lets me block out the fundamental look without getting too bogged down with the technical aspect of it. Just enjoying the freedom and creating. It's such a powerful tool that will hopefully change the way we as artists create. And we're at the baby phase of this. VR is still such a newborn in the tech and the art world. Imagine it in a few years in the future when it's more powerful, more advanced, and hopefully more widely used. I really hope that VR, AR, and XR in general get more and more integrated into our workflows and daily lives, and I'm pretty positive this will happen with the progression of time. In my humble opinion, as someone that has gotten to try out the technology, VR and AR are the future of 3D art, and maybe art in general. We're in a new era of rapid tech progression, or at least exploration, so many things are changing, so much new tech is coming out, and naturally the way we consume and make art will change as well. We see AI spitting out images that look like concept art, artists making 3D pieces and printing them and making exhibitions, and VR is just going to be an unavoidable part of that progress and change. So surely it will become better, faster, and more importantly, easier, I hope. I can see it being an integral part of every 3D artist's workflow, and I hope we all welcome that new future with open arms, as it's going to give us so many new ways to express our ideas. I myself have tried to use it to animate my characters with motion tracking in VR, and there are probably many more uses that I haven't even tried yet. And as I said, I believe it will become more and more efficient and useful over time. I have so much more I want to say, so many more things I want to talk about. I hope I got you at least a bit excited about 3D and animation and VR and the future in general. And I'm sure you guys would be more fun to talk when you can actually talk and not just be on the listening part of the conversation. So shoot me a message on Instagram maybe. But for now, I want to say thank you very much for listening and or watching. Thank you to Chaos Group for inviting me to share my piece. Special thanks to Emma Gavrilova from Chaos. I hope some of the things I said have sparked an interest in someone out there that's looking to get into 3D, but is a bit intimidated or not sure if it will be a good fit for them. And for you, I have this quote from a certain cartoon dog. Sucking at something is the only way to get kind of good at something. For the veteran 3D artists out there, I hope I reminded you of the spark you had in the beginning that ignited the flame in you that hopefully keeps burning on. Thank you again, and good luck to everybody out there. Bye.
Wow. Goosebumps, I swear.
Yeah.
I don't know if you inspired the young ones, but you definitely inspired me.
I hope there's something for everybody in it, I think.
No, it's great, and really thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I can tell you, like, all the chats are like blinking, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
questions for you, which is great. This is
Great.
what we want to achieve, and we're not going to waste any time. We're going to go straight to the audience and start with their questions.
Right.
So the first one would be: is 3D career or a vocation?
Is a 3D career a career or a vacation? Well, depends on what you make of it, I think. For me, I think it's both because I just love doing it. Like I can never sleep just to do something like the purple guy slamming his face into the floor. That just fills my soul. Like when you successfully complete something, you feel like you're on vacation. You're like, I did it. That's great. Move on to the next vacation project.
Yeah, it's more of a vocation, like the one you're following, or
Oh, or a
yeah,
vocation.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I think for me it's more of a vocation. Like I think a career is yeah, of course you can make a career out of anything, but like if this is actually your calling, a career in it is way more pleasurable, I would say. So yeah,
Oh, look.
I feel like this is my place. Like I said, I've been doing print, I've been doing digital design, I've been doing motion, and now while doing 3D, I feel fulfilled. I feel the best.
Well, it looks like a calling in your case. That's what
Yeah,
I'm gonna say.
hopefully. Sorry for mishearing vocation
No,
and
no, no worries.
vacation, but
Probably it's my accent. Don't worry.
turn into a more interesting question.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
two questions
Yeah,
into one. That's amazing.
yeah.
I do love that purple guy. We got another question here. So, to learn animation, did you start playing around with small technical aspects, or did you go all in doing whole projects in order to learn it fully from the get go?
hmm Um, like I think like with everything, not only animation, you're supposed to have something in mind when you're starting to learn something. For example, of course, you can do loads of tutorials, like tutorial after tutorial after tutorial, but at one point when you stop watching tutorials, you're like, what do I do and how do I do it without following an actual video? So of course, watch your, let's say, 10, 20 tutorials and then try to combine all of the things you watched into one project that you did, that you want to do for yourself or for a client if you're really lucky. But yeah, just I think going all out doesn't work because animation is complex. Like there are like you can check online, there's animation principles, you can check good videos, bad videos, I mean good animation and bad animation, you can see a significant difference between them. So of course if you spend some time learning the basics, then when you go into a full-on project, it will be way easier, guaranteed. So I think just take it one step at a time, watch a couple of tutorials on whatever animation you want to make, and then try to combine all the tutorials you've watched into your own project, your own idea, trying to um, exercise the knowledge that you've gathered from the tutorials.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
You make it sound easier than for me it has ever been in practice. But I guess that's the deal when it's a calling. Another one. Um, how do you see the future of the rendered still in general, archivists or not?
Mhm.
Are they gonna die out because clients will want interactive experiences only, AR, VR, whatever walkthroughs?
No, I don't think so. Like I said in the video, VR and AR and all of these things have got me really, really hyped up for the future. But I'm guessing it's gonna take a couple of more years or maybe a decade or something, and or more than a decade for sure, until the rendered still goes out of fashion, let's say. Because if like when interactive experiences start being an actual thing or a mainstream thing, they're going to be costly. They're going to be more expensive than still renders, of course, because to do an interactive thing, you have to um, first model the whole 3D world, the scene, or whatever you're modeling the product, and then you have to put it in a game engine, for example, Unreal Engine, and then compile that and do everything there, and then export it as an app or a game or whatever, so you can play it in a headset or interact with it. So I don't think the still render is going to go out of fashion soon. Plus, we don't need everything to be interactive. Like we're seeing it nowadays, everything is becoming more and more complex and interactive. Like for example, Instagram used to be way simpler, and right now there's a store, there's reels, stories, there's so many things. So we have a tendency of overcomplicating things, and sometimes it's not for the best. And I believe the still render will still have lots of use cases in the future.
Yeah, make sure you're actually adding value when you use this interactivity or VR, and not just doing it because it's the
Absolutely.
latest buzzword, which seems to happen. One
Metaverse.
final quick question: what's one 3D animation you've always wanted to make but haven't actually done yet?
Oh my God, there's so many.
Yeah.
I have like a short little movie animation thing that I'm doing, and I've been doing it for like more than a year now. But like I just worked for like 3 months on it, and then I scrapped it because freelance projects, work projects, and yeah. So that's the one that I'm trying to make. It's very inspired by Aaron Hileli. I don't know if you know him, but he's a really, really great 3D artist. So yeah, I might post something on my Instagram later, just like a small preview of it, of the style, so everybody watching can actually know what I'm talking about and not just guess.
I'm looking forward to both the preview and the finished thing once you finish it.
Of course, yeah. Once I finish it, hopefully,
Well,
one day.
we can't wait to show it off once it's ready, you know.
Yeah, sure. And I might be able to render it in V-Ray for Blender if you guys update it. I really need that.
This is a very good question, and it's actually a
So
great
many people
transition.
are waiting. So many people are crying for V-Ray.
Well, who knows? There might be news about that, and
Okay.
as I mentioned, there is a great transition because our next group of guests is actually responsible for that.
Okay.
So you know, who knows?
I'll have to take it straight with them.
Yeah, we can do that like as soon as you want to.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to welcome onto the stage some of our own developers now. We're going to have Vladimir, Alex, Georgie, and Pito. I'll leave them to say who they are and what they do. They'll be sharing a little bit of info about their jobs and what they've been up to. We'll then also have a presentation from Vladimir himself. And after that, your chance to ask them questions, something I'm sure you've always wanted to do. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Milko. Thank you
And we
so
also
much.
have Ina, who will be helping us produce and go through and ask the questions.
Hello. So first of all, congrats to everyone that made it to show 12. I had a blast. Don't know about you. I'm the copywriter here at Chaos, and I just like to break the ice by asking our product specialists and managers a couple of fun questions. So my first question is, if you could morph into any CGI character for a day, who would it be?
Okay, I can start. So for the people who don't know me, I'm Georgi Zhekov, and I'm a Phoenix product specialist. And I'm part of the Chaos Phoenix team, and I help making Phoenix even better. So in terms of character, I would say maybe Thanos, for example, because he's like the ultimate being in the universe. So you can do anything you like, and with the snap of a finger, you can do even more.
Well, you would have a bunch of superheroes against you in that.
For sure.
All right,
All
maybe
right.
I can
Yeah.
continue because the CGI character which Georgi said is connected with the one I thought of. So, hi guys, I'm Vladimir Dragoev. So I'm product specialist for Chaos Cloud, and that's kind of, I think, the main thing. And the CGI character I thought of before Georgi said Thanos was Groot. And I like Groot because he doesn't need to speak a lot. And also, whenever he's cut, he grows. And yeah, so I'll be against you, Georgi.
Bring it on.
Let the battle commence.
Yeah, wonder who will win.
I would go with Thanos as well. By the way, I'm Alex Yolov, product manager of Viri for Maya. And it's funny because I was actually thinking of Thanos, not because of him being part of the whole MCU thing and all, but because it sort of reminds me of a programmer joke, because whenever he snaps his fingers, he kills off half of the living beings. And if you think about it, he can keep snapping his fingers, and this could go on forever, because the second snap would kill half of what's remaining, and the snap after that will kill half of what's remaining, and so on indefinitely.
Well, I guess it's my turn. Hi, I'm Peter Matanov. I'm a product manager for V-Ray for 3ds Max. And I guess I'm not that picky as the rest. I will take anything that can fly. And of course, jumping through the multi-universe is a plus.
Yeah, I
dragon
think
or
fly.
something more. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Is there a particular character or
Yeah.
any that does those things?
I don't know, maybe Superman, but he's not that CGI. But maybe, I don't know. He's CGI in some of the movies, especially in the part where he flies. So the speed of flying is important as well.
His costume in the series is CGI, so we can count that as like
Yeah,
being
yeah.
CGI.
Or
Yeah.
Doctor Strange to be on my side. So there are two Thanoses.
Nice.
Yeah, I think I would actually choose flying as well. I think that's pretty awesome. So my next question to you guys would be, if you could invent any sustainable new material, what would it be, and what would you build with it? Who would like to start?
I can start again. So I would pick mushrooms. Yeah, actually, mushrooms are like super cool, and you can never run out of them, and you can build almost anything. So you can build bricks, you can build houses, you can build bags, you can build something plastic alternatives for food bags or for bottles, for example. You can build really everything. And sometimes they can be a snack as well. So if you decide you're too hungry and don't want to go to the shop, you can just bite off a piece of the furniture, for example. So definitely mushrooms are my top pick.
So your dream is to be Thanos in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Interesting choice. Let's see if someone can top that off in terms of, yeah.
And I'm not sure whether these are the same mushrooms, but in Star Trek they use mycelium network to travel fast and long. So I think it's mushrooms again. And as a material from my side, I've played a lot Minecraft lately, mainly with my son, and that's why I like obsidian, though it's really hard to get. But yes, obsidian as one of the hardest materials in Minecraft. And yeah, that's it. So you can build a lot of things there.
In the world that we're creating, we're going to have a mine and next to it a huge mushroom farm.
Yeah, you can use mushrooms for a lot of other things as well.
Yeah, we can mine the obsidian with the picks from mushrooms.
Don't make us name names, so we'll let you volunteer. Or shall we dive into the questions, the specific questions?
Sure. Go ahead, Tom.
I'm going to start. I'm going to single you out, Vladimir. Can you tell us the story of how your team managed to reduce the percentage of failed frames rendered in Chaos Cloud? I believe it was quite significant, down from 1.43% to 0.36%, which is virtually nothing. How did you do that?
Yeah. This happened in a month, so it was in the end of last year, 2021, somewhere November, December. So how we did it? First, just before that, we were supporting every V-Ray build which is out there, because we believe that the users who create their scenes locally want to render their scenes with exactly the same build, with exactly the same version. But it turns out there is a better solution for that. Of course, matching the version, the build it's quite important. But with each new publicly available build for V-Ray within the major version, let's say for next or 5 or 6 now, there is a lot of fixes, a lot of improvements to existing features. But at the same time, these versions, these new builds are backward compatible with their major version. And this means that the output will be the same, but the errors, the issues will be less. And this means, of course, job and frame failures will be less. That's why we decided to render with the latest publicly available build for each major V-Ray version, no matter which is the actual version used locally when creating the scene. And the failures drop dramatically, as you mentioned, the exact numbers. Generally, it's around 4 times. But at the same time, the outputs were rendered correctly, as expected, no bad surprises. And as side bonus, the render speed increased. And so to summarize it, so this was less failures. We also invested a lot in other improvements because the process, there are a lot of steps in the process. We also increased the rendering speed. We increased lowered the speed of the analysis, lowered the speed of parsing the scene, of loading the scene with even more, 50%. And now we have mainly, this leads, of course, to happier users. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, good job to you and your team.
Thanks.
Yeah, good job to the entire cloud team. So my question is to Alex Yolov, who is the product manager for V-Ray for Maya. I'm curious to know how you contributed to the success of the latest release, V-Ray 6 for Maya.
I just stood out of the way of the developers so that they can do their job.
That's the short answer.
That's the short answer. Yes. my contribution, I play a part in the grand scheme of things. There's many people working on Viri for Maya. It's one of our products, and just as many others, there's teams behind it. And there's many different people working on those teams, and everybody has their part. For example, our development team, we have one of the best developers in computer graphics, and they work on lots of bug fixes, they work on lots of features, but they also work on their own R&D projects. And some of those R&D projects make it to the products, others don't. It's how things are. And we have a QA team dedicated for Maya, and those people there help make Viri bug-free as much as possible. They make sure that whenever we add a new feature or some performance improvements, they benchmark the changes and actually make sure that performance is improved and not the other way around. I can think of funny stories in the past how things didn't go exactly as planned, and luckily we found out what was wrong before builds actually got into the hands of people. And then there's us, the product team. We have me and another person working from the product team dedicated to the Maya project, and we make sure that all the efforts that all those people are making are spent in favor of our users, are spent on doing stuff that our users need. So I can't really talk about personal contributions here. There's lots of people doing many different things, and it's never dull.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys all depend on each other, and it's about great teamwork, which I think you're able to achieve. So that's great.
Talking of teamwork, so I want to ask about the Phoenix team. I know when people think of development these days, they often think of the crunch, and people being made to work 80, 100, 200 hours a week and all this crazy stuff. So the question for the Phoenix team, how do you manage when you're up against a deadline? How do you manage the work pattern? What strategies do you use to deliver work on time? Does that include the crunch, or do we have a better way of managing work-life balance?
Okay, so this is an awesome question because, as you know, Phoenix is a quite powerful tool. You can light things on fire, then you can cover them in liquid, so this will turn to smoke. Then you can turn this into ice, and then you can have a huge ship flowing through the vast oceans. And all these things are different options, different complexities. And this makes testing Phoenix and releasing it as a final product as a bit of a challenge. So a lot of things that can go wrong. And in order to overcome this, it's all about having standard operating procedures. And what we do is we have a list with all the things that should be working. So we go and check them one by one, and then check them twice, like Santa, who's making a list, checking it twice. When you're under pressure, lots of things are on your mind, and you can always miss something. So that's why having a list with the core priorities, with all the things that need to be working is a must. And you just go there and check them one by one. And if everything is working in the end, it's all good. People are happy. We are happy. And everything is just perfect.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. So my next question is actually towards Peter Matanov, the product manager for 3ds Max. And I'm curious if you could share the process of designing new V-Ray for 3ds Max features and your role in it, as well as how much the customer feedback plays a role in what gets included in an update.
Well, the process is quite easy. I usually just pick some random comments under YouTube release videos and make features out of those. And of course, I'm kidding. Most of the times, the design of a new feature begins and ends with user feedback. We have all kinds of channels for requests, as well as a special wishlist thread in the forum where people can request and vote. Unfortunately for me, V-Ray for 3ds Max is used in almost all CG industries, which means very different types of requests that are often not very universal for the rest. And I guess the biggest challenge is to choose the right set for each release, which will improve the workflow of all of our customers, from the ARC-based freelancer working at home to the big VFX studios responsible for the best productions in the industry, of course. Of course, not all features come from customer requests. There are a lot of nice things that are already part of V-Ray that are designed and implemented by our R&D team based on technical papers and, of course, some in-house magic.
Great.
Everything is
That was a
magic.
great answer. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. And for the audience out there, please don't be shy. Shoot as many questions as you can at those guys, because for them, it's super important to hear your feedback as well. This is important for developing the products. And having said that, I think we're all super happy to have Vlado with us. Vlado is, well, the co-founder of Chaos and the V behind V-Ray. So I'm sure we're all super excited to have him on board for for show 12. Shoot the questions to the boys, to Vlado, to everyone. And hi, Vlado, and welcome. Yeah, we cannot hear you, so probably. Yeah.
My favorite phrase for the last 2 years. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you perfectly.
Okay, perfect. Hello everyone. It's exciting to be here. I don't think I've ever presented at 24 Hours of Chaos before. I can't remember if I did. But in any case, Albena asked me to do a short talk. So I chose a few topics that I think might be interesting for everyone. So let's go ahead and let me share my screen. And hopefully you can see it now.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. So it's just rendering stuff, nothing specific, just a bunch of topics which I thought would be cool to mention. These topics are the ones that you see here on the screen. And the first one is about something that we call the Innovation Lab. It's something relatively new for Chaos that we decided to do this year. It's basically a framework that would allow us to structure the so-called innovation in our company a little better than we have done so far. I think that if we were not an innovative company, we wouldn't be around for so long. But so far, things have generally happened in a rather random way, with people just having ideas and then somehow deciding to pursue them. But I want to build a more formal framework around this. My personal view is that good ideas for our products and for new products in general can come from anywhere. They can come from customers, but also from people inside the company. And the idea, at least my goal, is to be able to collect as many of these ideas as possible, no matter where they come from. And also give everybody an opportunity to participate in implementing those ideas, at least the ones that we decide are worth investigating. What we'll probably end up doing is we'll our planning in the company is based on 6 months period. So every 6 months we would sit down, take a look at what topics we've gathered, and decide on maybe 5 or 6 topics to look into in more detail. And these would usually be topics that we don't know whether they're going to work or not. So we need to spend some time tinkering with code and checking the results and see whether it's useful or not. Since at least so far, what we've been mostly doing is rendering, it will be natural that most of these topics are also based around rendering. But also it's interesting to try things related to AI, neural networks, which I personally am very interested in, but because of all the other things that I have to do, I haven't really had a lot of time to experiment with this. And hopefully in the framework of the Innovation Lab, we'll have a little bit of time to look into those things as well. And the other topic, completely random and unconnected, is the NMesh feature that we added in V-Ray 6. If you don't know what it is, it's basically a volumetric texture. You take a piece of 3D geometry and then you tile it along a surface. It's not like instancing, however, because the surface can deform and the reference geometry can deform with it. The implementation that we used for V-Ray NMesh is based on the 2D displacement that we've had in V-Ray for a long, long time. Only instead of a bitmap, like a height field that's based on a bitmap, you take an actual piece of geometry to replicate. It's not a new idea. The original idea is described in a paper from 1998. And actually, when I was looking for a way to implement displacement in V-Ray, I read this paper maybe like more than 20 years ago. And my thought was, well, I don't need actual 3D geometry. I would just need a height field. And that's what I did to make the 2D displacement in V-Ray work. But in the back of my mind, the idea was that at some point we would always go back to implement the full solution with volumetric textures supporting arbitrary geometry. And we did start working on this at some point, maybe a few years ago, but we didn't really finish it because of other things that were going on. So the code has been there for a while, basically gathering dust. And for V-Ray 6, we decided to finally take it out of the closet and brush it up and put it into an official release of V-Ray. It does have a few caveats, so it's not as easy as regular texturing. And first, when you curve the issue that the problem that you can actually warp the geometry. It's not a flat surface anymore. This is a problem because rays that are straight in world space end up being curved in the texture space. Also, surface normals are a little bit tricky to calculate without artifacts. There are other solutions for volumetric textures, but usually if you look at the normals, you will see discontinuities. For V-Ray, we wanted to really make this perfect, so we spent a lot of time on this. And also another hurdle was that the shading properties like UV coordinates for texture mapping can come from either the original geometry or the reference geometry. And then, of course, you can use things like bump mapping and normal mapping, and all of these things have to work, which was a little tricky to get right. What I mean by rays being curved is, you can see here on this slide, the top row is actually images from the original 98 paper, where you can see that we can take a blocky piece of geometry and then if you put it on a surface that has some warped normals, you get a curved result. And here I try to illustrate that the ray that is a straight line in world space ends up being curved in the UV space. And it's like intersecting geometry with curved rays. That's not easy. The way we solve it right now is just break up the ray in multiple straight line segments and hope that this approximation is good enough. And usually it is. But I don't really like, we're probably making too many steps right now. So that's an area that I want to optimize a little bit more for one of the V-Ray 6 updates. And we did the feature. It ended up in the V-Ray 6 beta. People seem to really like it. one of our users posted this piece of cloth with some intricate texture details. And this would be really, really hard to do with in any other way. Like doing it with actual geometry is prohibitive. You can do it with texture maps like opacity maps, bump maps, but it just doesn't look right. Using V-Ray and Mesh gives a really very realistic result. And yeah, you can see the final image here. And it's just not possible to get this in any other way. So I'm really happy that the code is out eventually and that people can make use of it. Another of the popular feature for V-Ray 6 is the sky clouds that we added to the V-Ray Sun and Sky system. This project also has a somewhat interesting story. We knew that we wanted to add some kind of cloud solution to V-Ray 6, but we weren't sure how to approach it. And back in 2021, we started looking into how we can possibly do this. It was a topic for the hackathon that we do every year. We do this hackathon with developers from different offices. Back then, it was only the Prague office and the Sofia office. So developers from Prague and Sofia get together to work on various problems. And this was one of those things that we wanted to look into. The final implementation ended up being the clouds that we have in Enscape, but it doesn't mean that we just took them directly. Here on the left, you can see the experiment that we did at the hackathon. A very simple program to do the experiments with various cloud-like textures and how we could possibly render them. We knew right from the start that we wanted a solution that's simple and intuitive. We didn't want people to play with noise textures or adjust fractals or anything like this. We wanted really simple and intuitive controls. We wanted this to render quickly. So we knew that there is just not enough. We couldn't use a full volumetric ray trace solution for this. It had to be some kind of cheat, let's put it this way. But still, the results had to look plausible. They still had to look good in an image. And we wanted this to work not only in one product, not only in Vira and Corona, but also in other products that we have, like Vantage, Vision, and so on. And we realized there are two approaches we could do this. One is to use some kind of real-time solution. There are a number of these real-time cloud systems that are used in games. There are papers out there that people put together. Or we could take another, maybe slower approach where we could do clouds the way products like Vue or TerraGen do them, and then maybe bake the result into a SkyDome and use that for rendering. But when we tried to picture a workflow with a baked SkyDome, we quickly realized that it's just not going to work very well. Maybe it could be useful in Vira or Corona, but for a real-time solution like Vantage or Vision, it was just definitely not going to work. At the beginning of this year, the merger with Enscape happened, and Enscape has a very good cloud solution that people are pretty happy with. So we thought, well, maybe that's something that we could potentially use. They do fulfill all of the requirements, but we weren't sure whether we can actually port them over to an offline renderer like V-Ray. But we took a look at the code and we did some experiments, which you can see here. It was a separate prototype program that we used to see if we can make the clouds work in C++. And it did happen. Wasn't easy. I remember I chased a bug where I had just skipped multiplication by some number in some formula, and I couldn't figure out where the problem was, and all the clouds were coming out pink. And that took me like maybe 2 days to figure out that I just missed a negative sign somewhere. And I had to read all the papers that the original clouds were based on to figure out what the right formula should look like to realize that I had skipped a negative sign. So that was fun, but it was done and the code worked pretty well. It was a little bit tricky to get it working with the dome light in V-Ray, but eventually we solved that problem as well. And then the Vantage team, the V-Ray GPU team, they also did their own implementations of the cloud. So eventually the goal is to have them working everywhere and look the same everywhere, including Escape. We didn't port all the features that Escape has. Like, we didn't get to the moon and the stars and the condensation trails. That's something that we left for an update of V-Ray 6. So there are more things coming out there. One thing that I didn't actually expect was that they will work so well with other features in V-Ray, like the volumetrics that we have. This is an image that a user posted on our forum, which uses the clouds together with volumetric scattering. I didn't really expect this to work, but surprisingly, it kind of did. There was a bug originally, but once the bug was fixed, everything was perfect. So that was super cool to see. Random topic number 3, support for HDR monitors and TVs. For some time now, HDR displays can be found pretty much everywhere. They're well supported on various operating systems. So one of our developers, Radoslav, at our 6-month planning, mentioned that that's something that he could probably look into. And I said, well, okay, go ahead. He mentioned that Vantage might be very easy to do because it's based on DirectX, and DirectX does have built-in support for HDR. So that's where we did this experiment. And it worked really well. Here on the images, Radoslav took the picture of a photograph of the same HDR OLED TV that we have in the office with the same exposure. And the results are really quite impressive. And of course, a photo doesn't mean much. You actually have to see it. But it looks really, really nice. And now that that works, and we know that it's a good feature to have, we will probably be looking into adding support for other products like EOS Player and the frame buffers, like a frame buffer in V-Ray. But that's a little bit further into the future. Random topic number 4, V-Ray for Blender. Yes, that's still a thing. We have been working on it for the past few months, bit by bit, because the developer that works on it also has other tasks. But we managed to update the code base to support Blender 3. And we also finished an experiment that Andrei Zrantsev, the original developer of V-Ray for Blender, did like a few years ago to support interactive rendering in Blender by porting the whole renderer to use the V-Ray App SDK, which is basically a higher level programming interface for V-Ray that we use in products like V-Ray for Cinema 4D and V-Ray for Rhino and SketchUp. And that seemed to be a better approach than using the lower level C++ SDK that we have for products like V-Ray for 3ds Max, for example. So updating the code base for all these things took a while, but finally it's done. We don't have builds that are ready for people to use yet because we still have some issues that we need to fix. But generally, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and things are progressing quite nicely. And yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vlado. And I think with the last couple of slides, you actually answered Milko's question. I hope.
All right.
Alrighty. Thanks a lot. A lot of cool and exciting stuff. I'm sure not just for us who work at Chaos, but also for the people out there. We hope. And talking about innovations, I wanted to ask you a very quick question about the Innovation Lab. And that's a new initiative that's starting with the merger of the companies Chaos, Escape, and Silindo. So very nice title. What does it entail, and how is it different than the general DNA of Chaos, that it's innovation?
It's well, there's there wasn't any structure to the way we were doing things before. Like I said, it will be just maybe me deciding to look into something or other because I was interested in it. But if anybody else had a nice idea, sometimes it was difficult to get actually developers to work on it. So my goal is to fix that. And also, things are not just about V-Ray anymore, right? So and not about specifically rendering. Maybe there are other topics that we can look into together with Enscape and Celindo. So the goal of this innovation lab is to be something that's across the entire company so that we can help other products and other teams as well, and not just V-Ray or Corona specifically with rendering.
Awesome. I think that's exciting news. And is it gonna be secretive? Like, are we gonna keep it under wraps what we're doing there, or are we gonna give some hints to the community at some point?
I would love to share stuff. Obviously, hopefully stuff that works and not the failures. But we've already presented some of our results at various conferences. We had this year the EGSR conference in Prague, which we actually had a paper to present there about the anisotrope implementation that we did in the V-Ray material. So that was very cool to see. But we also have other not just conferences, but also other events that we go to and show stuff that we're doing. I will be at the Reconnect conference in a few weeks in the Netherlands, in Utrecht. So I'll be showing more stuff there as well. So,
alrighty, so it's not all a secret.
No.
Great. And as we're super pressured by time, I say, Tom, let's open it up for questions. And I know there are a lot of them.
Yes. Do we have any questions for any of the people on the panel right now? Send them in. I think a couple of you have been watching YouTube already and catching a few questions. Anything you'd like to answer that you've seen them ask?
Yeah, I saw a couple of questions for Chaos Cloud. Arkwing, if I'm reading correctly their name. Do we have plans for Corona in Chaos Cloud? And the short answer is yes. And they're really, short plans. This will happen soon. And one more question there was: can we render V-Ray image in Chaos Cloud? Yes, this is the output type which you can specify in your host application. Just go to the settings where you customize the output type and put V-Ray image, and we'll respect your choice. And there was also a question about V-Ray frame buffer in Chaos Cloud. This is we have discussed it. No short-term plans for it yet, but it's kind of really interesting idea. Thanks for the questions.
There are so many, we don't know where to start. Georgi, I think you wanted to take over.
Yeah, there was a question. Do we have plans for node-based user interface in Phoenix? This is something that is already in our to-do list already. So yeah, we're thinking about it. Unfortunately, can't give you an exact estimation when this will make it. So, but yeah, it's coming at some point. And that's it. Thanks.
Alrighty. I think there are a lot of questions in the chats. Have you boys followed up on any of those, or should we post them here internally in the chat?
I saw something about selective sharpening in the VFB. Well, actually, we are going to take advantage of the cryptomat masking, of course, for a lot of things, but and maybe someday for sharpening. But for update 1, we're planning to bring back the selective lens effects based on masking. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And of course, if users like that, we will continue to use those masks wherever possible.
Alrighty. Tom, any questions with you?
I've not been able to follow the live stream, just and it looks like there's just too many questions to hand them out to the appropriate person. So what we'll do is we'll make some notes. The team watching the streams can grab some questions, and we'll send them along later to the people. And of course, there's always the forums. We're very reachable. So if you have any questions, you don't need to wait for events like this. You can always ask on the forums. And we're more than happy to get back with you. Both the V-Ray, Phoenix, Corona, Clouds, all teams are able to get them and answer your questions. So,
but that's a good thing. It looks like you guys managed to break the flow of questions that is reaching us. So in order to fix that, we will look straight at the live streams, as we have not been able to follow obviously live ourselves. Hi Vlado, for Vantage, can we have the frame buffer integrated in?
I know this has come up a few times, and I think the guys would love to do more with the post-processing in Vantage in general. The small problem is that the frame buffer is written for offline rendering. It's not made for real time. The V-Ray frame buffer, as it is right now, can't really process images at 30 frames per second. And basically it needs to be rewritten for Vantage. And yes, this is something that we would love to eventually do, but it's a lot of work. So we do have some post-processing capabilities in Vantage already. More will be added in the future. It just takes time.
All right, thanks, Vlado. There's another one. Will there be any developments to make bi-directional connections between Chaos and Chaos Corona and Vantage?
I would love to see this happening myself. We do have a lot of work before we can make this happen. But generally, especially with integration of Cosmos, we've kind of started to align on a common way to represent materials and geometry. So this is a stepping stone for being able to do something about Vantage as well. So there is some hope that eventually this might happen.
Awesome, thank you. Alex, I think there was a question about PD player, if you can take that one.
Yeah, so that there was a question whether Chaos Player will evolve like the V-Ray frame buffer to be able to do light mix editing. And I don't really have an answer to that specific question, but I can tell you that there's been many requests about specific features that the V-Ray frame buffer has, and integrating those into Chaos Player. And it's something that we're giving really serious thought. For example, people want to use the lens effects in sequences that are already rendered and want to play with them in the Chaos Player, and we're giving it serious thought. It's just not really easy to do. So it's somewhere in our plans, and eventually we'll get there, just don't know when.
All right, thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. We're the last show, so we're not really being very respectful of time, I would say. But I would like to thank everyone who has joined us. I know there are more questions. We will try to follow up with those by the end of the show. If we don't manage to do it by the end of the show, we will answer online, so don't worry about it. Vlado has to leave us, so we want to thank you, Vlado, for joining us. It was a great pleasure having you with us. The boys are staying, and see ya. And I think we're moving to the next very important person joining the company. I don't know if Julian is here already, or our colleagues will help us.
Usher them in from the backstage.
He's at in the backstage.
This is our last guest speaker for the day, and then do hold with us because we have the contests and prizes.
Alrighty, here's Julian, and Julian. Yeah, I cannot see him yet. You see, it's been such a good show, and for 24 hours we've managed to actually do it without hiccups. Thank you, guys. Oh, I can see Milko now as well.
Welcome back. Did that answer your Blender question, by the way, Milko? You got some information there that was good?
Yeah, for sure.
I think that he also answered with good news, didn't he?
Yeah. I'm happy. I'm happy for myself and the whole Blender community. I'm a representative, I guess.
Sorry. Oh, here we are. We have Julian with us. Hello, Julian.
Hello.
With no further ado, I would let you introduce yourself, and let's see what you have to show us.
Okay, so thank you very much for invitation and the opportunity to be involved here. I appreciate it so much. Yes, I'm the founder of Suburbia. This is a creative agency specialized in architectural visualization. Yeah, I'm Ukrainian and I'm a life lover. And I'm so passionate about designing personal life and filming. Probably this is the main one that I wanted to say about myself.
Nice. And I think we can see it in every shot that you've made, that you actually have a passion for it. So
thank you very much.
Backstage. Come on, folks.
This is a story about a minimalist and how my morning looks like. So the first thing I do is make the bed. I love the feeling of being done. First thing done. Right after that, I have hygiene, and the next thing, little care about pigeons, because we are responsible for those who have been tamed. Water, warm water, honey. Oops. I think it's important to learn how to switch between modes like this one and this. Location. All of the things I use, I try to put them in their place. Tricks, of course, in the process. Oops. Acceleration. Whew. Done. Waiting for lunch. Scientists have found out that people whose homes are in order are healthier and of course
happier. Transparent handles, my backpack, packing process. Peace. Things from the trip. I have a question about closing the door, but now
Yes!
all's okay.
Now all is clean and I'm ready to work.
Oops.
For breakfast. But I forgot about...
Welcome to another world.
Добрий ранок.
Say morning. More colorful world. Created by my neighbors.
Let's start. Yellow and blue. Look at these shadows. This is my business card. I love so much. That's why I put it here and frame.
Sometimes we forget, pay attention to the details that surround us.
So now it's time for
breakfast. The recipe is simple. Banana, soy milk, ice, more ice, cocoa substitute doesn't contain flavorings and other chemicals. Of course, I press the turbo button. Plop.
Bon appetit!
Cheers.
So tasty!
Gratitude. And reflection. I remember at the end of 2019 I moved into this apartment, and for 3 years I have been trying to find every possible option for simplification and possible optimization, and I think I'm succeeding.
This is how looks my perfect morning. For me it's sure for 100%. It's time for work.
Some feedback before starting the project.
It's time to go to the office. Let's go.
Dressing. My father's gift.
Proud to be Ukrainian. This is my...
Understood that magic is everywhere and even here. Yeah, I'm ready. Toothbrush, of course, tricking process, and dental floss. Final touches. The main things with me.
Hey Siri.
Smart home.
Good night.
To me, minimalism is about philosophy and a lifestyle. It has never been about depriving yourself good things and what you really love.
So this is video made for Chaos Group, and yeah, now this is my one of my favorite part of the day. Work.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Julian. Thank you so much. And well, I can see you wearing that T-shirt as a present from your dad.
Thank you very much. Yes, exactly.
Off to you, Tom. And you're on mute. Just letting you know.
There we go. So you have to do that at least once in every show. Yeah, I had a question where everything you do there is very organized. Everything is in its place. Do you carry that same philosophy over into work and, you know, your files on your computer? Or are you just as meticulous and detailed and organized there?
Yeah, exactly. So this is like a digital life. And yes, I have the same philosophy on digital world. Yeah, this is another film about my digital minimalism. Yeah.
Does the chaos drive you crazy?
I love chaos because I can make from chaos order.
Yeah, some believe that life was born at chaos, you know, in chaos. Tom, I think you had one more question.
Yes. The thing I really love about this is the reminder about like a work-life balance. I know for a lot of us, there's a habit, and I speak for myself too. You know, within 2 minutes of getting out of bed, you're checking emails, and suddenly you find yourself dragged into the workday. You never take a moment to stop and reflect. And what I really loved about this video is a reminder of how to stop and reflect, look at the details, and keep a sense of balance throughout your life. Do you think, was that something you've always had? Or is it, did you start off, you know, like me, all chaotic and checking emails first thing, and you had to teach yourself to put the structure in place to manage your time?
Okay, for me, probably the concept of minimalism is about remove from life all the things that don't bring value and happy, and thanks to this, to get advantages like more time, peace, less stress, freedom, etc. Probably minimalism, it's about reflection and being in harmony with yourself.
I think there's a lot we can learn from, and we're getting a lot of people saying they love this style. So maybe you've taught us all a thing or two about how to live our lives as well as manage our workspaces.
I just beginning. I have been detected a lot of probably mistakes on this video, but yeah, it's like Kaizen. It's always need to be approved. So
Well, it seems like you have a lot of fans in the audience because they're saying they love your minimalism style. So that's a good thing.
I think I start thinking like a minimalist is since 2019, but yeah, it's like as I said, it's just beginning, and I see how can be in the future. Yeah, so I'm a junior on this, but I would like to share with you this topic.
No, I think it's super important, especially I think the past couple of years have been very enlightening for a lot of us in the way we live and the things we need. So it's a great thing to look at that. And as Tom said, I personally know that feeling that the second you wake up, I don't even leave the bed. I'm already reading emails. So I'm not sure how healthy that is. We should definitely find that balance somewhere over there, Tom.
It's so easy to get sucked into that lifestyle. And I think you have to consciously make an effort to step back and keep things under control.
Yeah, agreed. And I think that's a great note to close on.
Yes, because we do have to move on to some prizes that have already been won, but also our final quiz. So thank you, Julian. By the way, lovely filmography in that. I think there's a lot we can learn in if we were doing art quiz, fly-throughs, the way you time things, the shots you make. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of your
Thank you very much, Tom.
home movies, but your films and movies. So, okay, who's ready to see what winners we've got? I have two here. First up is our social media giveaway winner, and I am reading to make sure I get the name right. And congratulations go to Kevin Gizzard, social media giveaway winner. And our other winner is our raffle winner, and this is Manuel Crusoe. So congratulations, Manuel. And my apologies to anybody if I mispronounced your name.
Another time.
And now we have that special quiz for those of you crazy enough to have not gone to sleep and watched every presentation that we've done. Let's see how much attention you were paying.
Yep. So the quiz will be coming up, guys. You probably remember it from last year. In just a second, you will see the Slido information on screen. So I'll give you a minute to go online, get ready, and start with the quiz.
I don't think I could answer all the questions.
I know I want to. This is what I know for sure. Because I don't know, but I think I've watched almost everything this year.
I'm just not sure I could remember all the details.
Yeah. Well, we shall see how many of the people who are still awake do remember them.
Yes, our audience will put us to shame.
Yeah.
So do head to the address you can see on screen, enter the code, or just use the QR code if you've got your phone handy.
And there are some really, really cool prizes to win. So let's do this.
Just let us know when we're going to start with the first question once we've given people enough time to jump.
Yeah.
in there.
If you have been a fan for the entire show, watching it, or even if you have not seen all the shows, you can just still try
Oh
your luck.
yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it's unlikely anybody's going to get every answer right. So even if you've seen 5 shows, 1 show, you're not likely to win with 1 show. Let's be honest. So we'll have some dedicated, diehard people that have watched a few. But yeah, don't feel you have to watch every show. Dive in, answer the questions that you know the answer to.
I have seen
And,
some hardcore fans like throughout the shows.
yeah, give us a shout out in the social media, or YouTube, Twitch, wherever you're watching it.
Alrighty, we're just giving it a few more seconds so that people can join in, because we know it takes some technical time to grab your phone, although many of us still keep it in our pockets all the time, every time. All right, so we're starting the quiz. Let's do this.
Drum roll. I would play the drums now.
Alrighty, so the first question is, Narrative has produced what type of content for the electronic music artist Griffin? A, music videos, B, animated visuals for Griffin's live performances, or C, animated tour documentary? Do you remember the answer to that one? Was it music videos, animated visuals, or animated tour documentary? You can see there is timing on the screen that's pretty much showing you how much time you have left to answer the question. So if you did see show 1 and you do remember the story, go ahead and give the right answer. So do you know the answer to?
I do actually know this one.
Yeah, so do I. Alrighty.
Look at that. Most people knew the answer to that one. Good job.
Oh, nice. All right.
Okay, what is the name of Andre Holzmeister's latest Solana NFT project? This was from show 2. What's that project called? Art Monkeys, Arctic Monkeys, or Ape Art? So once again, Andre Holzmeister's latest Solana NFT project. Was that A, Art Monkeys, B, Arctic Monkeys, or C, Ape Art? Time's counting down. All you folks who were here for show 2, hopefully you know this one. Monkeys are very popular in NFTs. I've noticed that seems to be a theme.
Monkeys seem to be popular and cute, so
that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Just 4 seconds left, guys.
Let's see how well you did.
Whoa.
Well, everybody's picked up monkeys. Drum roll. Yeah.
Nice. Now we have better success rate here. We move to show 3, and then we ask you the following question. In his presentation, Sergei Polishchuk, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with pronouncing names and pronouncing in general, was talking about working on an Amazon show code. Haha. Do you remember that one? Jack Ryan, the terminal list, or upload? Did you see that one, Tom?
Actually, I did. Not only did I see the presentation, the show 3, but I've actually seen the particular TV show that in question. So it was interesting to see how it was made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this one is easy, guys, because it's pretty much giving you up the answer in the question. And the truth is, I'm sorry that Tom and I cannot give you hints.
I'm not. I actually enjoy making people.
How you like the tease, right?
Yeah, I do. I like doing
But
that.
do you see, with every question, the success rate is improving.
Yeah. So Mora Vietis, again, I also have to apologize for my pronunciation, has collaborated with Nickelodeon on the creation of what? These were really good. Was it Christmas campaign visuals, special lettering, or Halloween IDs? So this was a collaboration with Nickelodeon, and Mova created Christmas campaign visuals. That's option A. Option B, special lettering, or option C, Halloween IDs. I'd get this one too.
Did you?
I can't say anything else because I'll give it away. So I'll say once the answer's out though.
Let's see how the people who managed to stay awake throughout the entire show are gonna answer.
Yes, Halloween IDs. Halloween's really cool, and these were really good images. I really loved them. I had to bite my tongue not to say anything while the question was up.
Yeah. Moving to the next question and the show coming from LA. A big shout out to the LA team. Love you guys. What did Chris Nichols, Barbara Grant, and Zach Alexander discuss in show 5? Tips and tricks for virtual production in LED stages, R&D in the pre-production, do's and don'ts in real-time animation. Wow, that's a big one. And the discussion was really nice. So I really hope, it stayed with you, what they said, because I personally found it extremely useful. So was it tips and tricks for virtual production in LED stages, R&D in pre-production, or do's and don'ts in real-time animation? Were you already asleep, Tom?
No, I saw this one.
Nice.
I was asleep not long after this, though. I did have to have a bit of a nap.
The one after was amazing as well. Alrighty.
No.
Hey. Nice. All right, you've been
people.
paying attention.
Okay, Ian Cope. He presented during show 6 a breakdown of the creative process behind a certain Marvel movie. Which movie was he talking about? Thor, God of Thunder, Thor, Ragnarok, or Thor, Love and Thunder? That was Ian Cope, show 6, creative process behind A, Thor, God of Thunder, B, Thor, Ragnarok, or C, Thor, Love and Thunder.
I was in love with this presentation. First of all, I'm a huge Marvel fan. I'm a huge Thor fan. But I'm not gonna give up which Thor we were talking about.
Yeah, we can safely say that. Yeah, the answer is definitely
it's Thor in
Thor.
every answer. So
Yeah.
it was definitely amazing. Whoa, you can see a lot of people have watched this one. Alrighty. Aplum, a high-end architectural visualization company, is based where? In Singapore, in Indonesia, or the Philippines? Well, probably I won't be giving too much of a hint by saying the two ladies presenting the company were super cool. So I'm not giving up where they were from. So Aplump is a high-end architectural visualization company based in Singapore, Indonesia, or the Philippines. Come on, guys. If you have seen the show, I might have
we get to see how many are getting each answer correct, but we don't know how many have been correct all the way through so far.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if we have anybody who's got every single question. I bet you we do.
I hope we do. We're already half through, so we're gonna find out the winner very soon. And here comes the right answer. All right.
That was pretty decisive. Zilong Zhu is a CG industry veteran with over 24 years of experience. What's his nickname? I'll probably mispronounce the nickname as badly as I mispronounce the name. Master Guang, Teacher Guang, or Uncle Guang. So the nickname of the industry veteran, Zilong Zhu, Master Guang, Teacher Guang, or Uncle Guang. Either was any of those. Cool. That was not very short. I to read as well. I don't know. What would you rather be called? Master or teacher? Or, well, I guess you wouldn't want to be called uncle.
I wouldn't mind being called any of those.
Yeah, it's all pretty neat.
I've been called mom by kids when I was like.
I've been called worse things.
Alrighty. Well, you see, a lot of people think it should be uncle, and they are absolutely correct. So that's a good thing. Congrats. Okay, so moving to the next show. What is the name of the game Avanish Kumar is currently working on? Antara, Once Upon a Time in India, or Bound? Do you guys remember the show? Show 9? It was quite exciting. So, what is the name of the game Avanish Kumar is currently working on? Antara, Once Upon a Time in India, or Bound? Do you play games, Tom?
Oh, yes. It's my favorite pastime alongside music. I just love video games. I have done since my teenage years.
Yeah, I think it's a guilty pleasure we all have, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a long time ago. I mean, I'll say my first games are on the ZX Spectrum and the Apple, the Atari, the very first console Atari did. I forget what it was called. Back in the mid-70s.
Yeah.
Showing my age.
Let's see if the audience. Oh, you see, we have a bigger.
Close. That was close.
That was very close, but still well done, guys.
From show 10, before making the transition to computer graphics, Rami Ahmad was studying A, graphic design, B, architecture, or C, computer science. So before they transitioned to computer graphics, Rami Ahmad was focusing on studying graphic design, architecture, computer science. This one's only 2 shows ago.
Yeah.
Surely people were up and watching this one by then.
Yeah, Terry and Andrew. No, that's not them. Sorry. Oh, yeah, but you know, if you have noticed, a lot of people have actually moved between specialties,
specializations.
Yeah, specializations, and I think that's a normal thing for our industry, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah. Let's see what people said. Oh, a very close one again.
Ooh!
Whoa, the first one where we don't have
people got it right.
This one got you guys. All right. Andrew McNally names ... as Lucan Studios' best source of clients. Was it the paid ads, the word of mouth, or cold calling? That's a very good question for sales and marketing people. So what does Andrew McNally believe is the best source of clients? Was it the paid ads, the word of mouth, or cold calling? I'm scared to even ask you for a guess, you know, Tom, because I don't think we could be misleading somebody.
I know what I think is true for us.
Yeah, same here.
But that's not necessarily the same as Lucan Studios' experience.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, but let's see. At the end of the day, it might be the same. Well, I think what the right answer. I know what the right answer should be. So I think we had a bit of a technical hiccup, which gave you guys some extra time to answer the question. So I'm going to read it out again. Andrew McNally names ... or the place to be filled in as Lucan Studios' best source of clients. Was it the paid ads, the word of mouth, or cold calling? Tom and I have our guesses. Let's see if you know the right answer.
Based on how marketing goes for chaos.
Yeah.
Did you know? Talking of changing careers, yeah, my degree was in psychology, and then I
think so.
Into CG graphics. I mean, that's quite a change.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yes. I think we're all on the same. We all have the same opinion here.
Milko Marinov from show 12. You have just seen him within the last hour or so. Started a fun render challenge-based initiative for his colleagues. What is it called? A, 3D Masterclass, B, 3D Kindergarten, or C, 3D Elementary. So this was Milko in our very own show. Set up a fun render-based challenge for his colleagues so that they can practice and learn 3D. Is it the 3D Masterclass, the 3D Kindergarten, or 3D Elementary?
It would be such a shame if we didn't know the answer to this one.
It would be kind of a disaster, wouldn't it?
It would mean I don't know what we've been doing around here for the
last 2 hours.
Alrighty.
Here we go. This is the last question too. So after this one, we'll have the winners. Let's see. Surely you all got this. Pretty much.
Yay!
And here we go.
Oh wow!
11 out of 12. That's pretty darn good. Well done, Matt Lachman. I'll say that this way.
Matt, I really wonder which one you got wrong. But it looks you are really paying attention. Congrats to the winners. Congrats, guys.
And that basically wraps it up for this year.
That was
Kind of
it.
sad, really, isn't it?
It is.
After the full 25. I bet you it's not sad for the team behind the scenes who have been up for well over 24 hours. They're probably, please let us go to sleep.
Nigel, Teddy, Emma, like everyone, let's just roll for another 24.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
I'm sure like they are not very happy with me right now. All right. Thanks. Huge thanks to everyone who has been watching. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for supporting the community. And again, thanks to all the hosts. Thanks to all the guests and the entire team behind this amazing 24 hours that have been.
Thank you, Julian. You get to be the last guest.
Yeah, thank you very much for making this real.
Thank you. Alrighty, so see you guys. Stay around for more news. As you can see, there are some cool things coming up. And hopefully see you very soon.
Yes, and we'll leave it for the team behind the scenes to tell us when they kill the live stream. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I'm just going to wait until they tell me. Maybe my arms will get real tired. We're out.
Hey!